Thank you for tuning into today's Brown Bag webinar. My name is Monica Gao. I am founder and executive director of Wake Up Narcolepsy, and I will be your host today. At today's session, we will learn more about the online support groups offered by Wake Up Narcolepsy. We offer 8 weekly online support groups, and today we have 4 of the group leaders to tell us more about what people can expect when they join one of the online support groups. The online support group leaders who have generously offered their time today to share why these support groups are helpful are Emily Barker, who leads the Pregnancy and Parenting Group, Sheila Digout, leading the Canadian group, Matthew Horsnell, who leads the 2 of the Living with Narcolepsy groups, and Tara O'Connor, who leads the young adult group ages 17 to 21. Thank you to our generous sponsors, Avadel Pharmaceuticals, Harmony Biosciences, Orexia Therapeutics, and Takeda Pharmaceuticals. Before we start, I will read this disclaimer. Wake Up Narcolepsy seeks to raise awareness about medications and treatments for people with narcolepsy so they can be better informed with their decision-making for themselves and their families. However, Wake Up Narcolepsy does not endorse or recommend any medications or treatments or make any representations or warranties as to the content, accuracy, or completeness of the presentations. Wake Up Narcolepsy is not engaged in rendering medical advice, and if you have narcolepsy or think you might have narcolepsy, you should consult with your doctor to fully investigate treatment options to meet your individual needs. And with that, we will begin today. Our format for the webinar will be interactive between the group leaders with plenty of time for questions. Please send questions through the question and answer feature at the bottom of your Zoom screen. What are the benefits of support groups? Cited from mayoclinic.org, the common experience among members of a support group often means they have similar feelings, worries, everyday problems, treatment decisions, or treatment side effects. Participating in a group provides you with an opportunity to be with people who are likely to have common purpose and likely to understand one another. Benefits of participating in group may include feeling less lonely, isolated, or judged, reducing distress, depression, anxiety, or fatigue, talking openly and honestly about your feelings, improving skills to cope with challenges, staying motivated to manage chronic conditions or stick to treatment plans, gaining a sense of empowerment, control, and hope, improving understanding of a disease and your own experience with it, getting practical feedback about treatment options, learning about health, economic, and social resources. And now finally, I will turn it over to the group leaders to introduce themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. So it's an honor to be here alongside these wonderful facilitators. Just want to take a moment to introduce myself, and we're going to go around and talk a little bit about what groups mean to us, what got us started in groups. So my name is Matt, and I am the group facilitator for the Wednesday evening group at 7 p.m. Eastern time, and also the Saturday group at 1:30 Eastern time. I decided to join these groups a few weeks after they were offered, in large part because I needed to feel connected. You know, a big part of living with narcolepsy for me is being isolated and feeling alone, apart from. So the opportunity to connect with my peers from the comfort of my own home was really too good to pass up. So that's kind of what brought me here. What keeps me here is the chance to connect each week with somebody, whether it be someone who's been living with narcolepsy for 6 decades, whether it's someone who just got diagnosed with narcolepsy last week. The chance to interact with my peers is a chance for me to give back, but also to learn from the experiences of others. And really it's that collective wisdom that I think is essential and serves as one of my 4 pillars of treatment with NAPS, medication, the social support, and lifestyle adjustments. That social support for me is just paramount in terms of helping me to function and live my best. So Emily, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, really nice to be here. Thank you so much to Wake Up Narcolepsy for continuing to enable these groups to exist. I love the connection that I get to see in the group that I facilitate. So my name is Emily Barker. I have narcolepsy with cataplexy, was diagnosed at the age of 20. I'm also the mother of 3 boys. Professionally, I am a scientist and a writer, and I have obviously personal experience as a pregnant person with narcolepsy and some research experience as well. I co-facilitate the Pregnancy and Parenting with Narcolepsy support group. And we meet, I don't know when we get to share details of when we meet or if those will come up on a slide or anything, but we meet in 6-week stints on Tuesday evenings. And we cover topics anywhere from medications in pregnancy, which I think is the big question mark for a lot of women, all the way through the journey of a mom with narcolepsy, parenting newborns, toddlers, and school-aged children. It's been incredible for me to, I came into this because I wanted to share my experiences and help other women, but I benefit so much from the friendships that I've formed, and I love seeing the connection that women gain and the real support that they feel on their journey that has a lot of unknowns. So I'm looking forward to sharing more about that and happy to be here.
Thank you, Emily. Sheila, would you like to introduce yourself and your groups?
Sure. So my name is Sheila Digout, and I am in my late 50s, and I was diagnosed at age 45. I have narcolepsy with cataplexy. I probably had symptoms since I was 17. So my road to diagnosis was long. And like Emily, I got involved with support groups because I felt that I had something to offer and I wanted to, help others because I had received support from other people. And I quickly learned that I got back more than I gave, or it feels that way. I've developed many friendships along the way that I think are going to be lasting. And it's really helped me to feel empowered and just more confident, and that I can navigate day-to-day practicalities when I have these other people behind me to go over things with. I'm also a mom of 2 grown kids, and I am a nurse by my background as a nurse, and I tend to actually think like a nurse. So I have that kind of nursey head I go into sometimes. And one thing that I noticed when I was nursing was that those families that had support that really understood what they were going through, that they seemed to do better, they cope better, they manage their disorder better, or the disease. And I'm a knowledge seeker. So as soon as I got my diagnosis, I ran to Google and I was looking for other people. And I came to the support groups by way of going to narcolepsy conferences and meeting people like Matt, and eventually found out about the support groups, and they've been very helpful. And just a little nod to Halifax. I'm from Nova Scotia, the East Coast, and I did co-facilitate an in-person group before the pandemic. So the online one has been really helpful. As we all know, we can't obviously do everything in person anymore.
Thank you, Sheila. Tara, would you like to introduce yourself and your group?
Yeah, I'm Tara. I facilitate what used to be the teen with narcolepsy group, but now will be the young adult group, which is ages 17 to 21. And we meet Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I got into these groups, it was a couple of years ago now, that I just always felt alone. And because I didn't know anyone else with narcolepsy, and people around me just weren't getting it. And so once I joined these groups, it was just like a whole nother family that I got, and they accepted me right away. And for me, I was diagnosed at age 22, and I'm 25 now. But I had symptoms ever since I was 2 years old. And so I grew up in these young adult and teenage years with narcolepsy, but not knowing it. And I'm still younger, so I feel like these groups and me being a part of the young adult group, I can really relate and help these young adults who are maybe just getting diagnosed or who have had it and are struggling. And I've always really been passionate about sharing my narcolepsy and my story. I'm also a volunteer EMT and firefighter, and I am a full-time college student and work 2 jobs at the hospital. But yeah.
Thank you, Tara. Listening to y'all's introductions, it kind of warmed my heart because I feel like it's a great representation of what a typical group is like. And that's we come from all different backgrounds, but we have one thing in common, and that's we're experts on our own lives with narcolepsy. And again, that's kind of sits at the heart of what these groups are. And that's we come, we share our experience. We're not offering diagnoses, we're not offering treatments. We're just talking about what's worked for us. For me, I can talk a lot about what hasn't worked for me. But to get together and share, the group, while it has set hours and set times, it extends beyond that. So to piggyback off of what Tara was saying, it's a family. Emily and Sheila echoed the same. You build these relationships in these weekly groups, and then you get to go on throughout the week. You can check in with a friend, say, hey, how are you doing? And for me, that's one of the most impactful parts about these groups that Wake Up Narcolepsy offers. It's not just these groups, but it's the connection, it's the networking, it's the ability to find peers who are trying to live their best life. They're focused on solutions. We do like to listen to people vent, but we get to really immerse ourselves in a supportive environment. So that kind of brings us to one of the first questions, which is, over time, what benefits and changes have you guys seen in participants who regularly attend the meetings? And what changes have you seen in yourself? And I'll let y'all go, and then I'll circle back and answer that one afterwards. So Emily, would you like to take that first?
Yeah, I think my favorite thing, I don't know, once we reach out to other people with narcolepsy, we all experience it. Sometimes we can put words to it, sometimes we can't, but this idea of suddenly having our life's experience normalized, like for the first time. I liked what Sheila said about, she said that the patients that she saw doing the best were people getting support, individuals getting support from people who know what they're going through. So like for myself, I have a super supportive family. I didn't reach out to find people with narcolepsy for years. And when I finally did, I was like, what was I waiting for? It's not like my family is not compassionate, but to connect with people who know your experience. And so that is one of the most fulfilling things for me to see and to hear when there are women in our group who take the opportunity to express, because a lot of them are interacting with people with narcolepsy, other people with narcolepsy for the first time. And especially for women with narcolepsy who are, navigating motherhood and sometimes careers and just like have some really unique challenges that you think nobody else understands. And suddenly you're in a room full of people who really understand. So I think that's one of the most, that's one of the greatest things that I see change for people is, wow, there are people like me, there are people who understand me, and we can just talk so normally about something that in the rest of our lives is really odd and that doesn't come up in conversation. So that's one on a more global scale. The other one more specific to women with narcolepsy, I think a great benefit that that many women gain from our group in particular is being empowered as their own advocates in healthcare. And that mostly just comes from hearing how others are interacting and communicating with their sleep doctors, their obstetricians, and navigating the unique journey of pregnancy and medications and narcolepsy. And many women have said, like, I couldn't have done this journey without, hearing from my friends about how they've done it. And so I think it could be very empowering in that regard.
Yeah, that's great, Emily. Sheila, would you like to share?
Sure. Yeah, I think we're more similar than we are different, even though there's a really wide variety of people that come to groups. We have our core group that seem to be there every week, and then we have people who might come every couple of weeks, and then we have people who might just want to drop in and see what it's all about. And what I notice, especially with the core group, the people that, come all the time, is they have a relationship with each other, and they also, the comfort level is there to say, I had this doctor's appointment and I tried to explain this to him and I don't think he got it. And I couldn't find the words. And, you know, just to kind of bounce it off of people, this is just kind of an example of, you know, a conversation we might have. And people don't judge, you know, they've been in similar situations or they want to help. So I think the other thing for us too is that the Canadian perspective is a little bit different. We all are on the, or many of us are on the Facebook groups, and we've learned a lot of what we know through the American groups. But when it comes to specifics around medication and what's offered here and differences with insurances and things, and I don't pretend to be an expert. Everybody brings something to the table when it comes to this, whether it's through their experiences or things they've read. But I think that Canadian perspective is really important for us to share within our country as well.
Thank you, Sheila. That's a great point. Tara?
I think with the teen and young adult groups, I feel like there's not a lot of them because it's really not extremely common to get diagnosed at a younger age. And so just having even just like one or two other people their age that get it and that are going through the same things, like through high school and college and all that, I feel like it's been really beneficial, and it's just let them know that they're not like the odd man out and that they're together. And I know for me, when I started going to the groups, like it felt like a family. And I mean, I've met some of my best friends on there, and like I talk to some daily, and I've even met one in person, and I'm gonna meet more in person next month. It's like just a huge family and a huge friend group, and it's really been beneficial to me, and I feel it's been beneficial to the people who have come to my group as well.
Those are all incredible points. And just to kind of echo some of what was just said, you know, that collective wisdom that we get when we come to these groups, people who think about the same problem in different ways, we can kind of troubleshoot and use all of our experiences combined to create novel solutions. Probably the favorite thing that I get out of seeing somebody come into group is somebody comes in the first time and, you know, they're tearful. This might be the first time they've met somebody with narcolepsy virtually or in person. And you can see how it resonates with them. You can hear it in their voice, they're shaky. And groups are a place for tears. So if you come and you cry, great, because you're probably going to see me wiping my eyes, probably even today. It's a place where you can come and you can feel those emotions. You don't have to worry about cataplexy slipping in and slurring your speech, or you don't have to worry about the head bobs, or, you know, if someone tells a joke and you see a couple people have some minor cataplexy expressions, that's okay because you're comfortable in a group of your peers. And to watch them go from being probably shy, a little timid, apprehensive, to really growing into their own. So some of the people have gone on from, you know, coming into groups, having never met somebody, to then going on to facilitate their own groups. And so to see that growth across their lives has been huge. They come back and they tell stories about what they shared with their doctor, how they had a problem, they were very worried about it. We helped them create some action steps, and then they came away with a solution that worked for them. And knowing that, you know, my missteps along my journey are helping others really just fills me up, and it gets me excited to come to groups. It's a good time to remind anybody who's watching that all the facilitators are volunteer. So we're doing this because we want to be there. We want to be in those groups with our peers. And that kind of streams us to the next question, which, what would you say to someone who's apprehensive about joining a support group and isn't sure if they're going to fit in or isn't sure if it's right for them? Emily, would you like to take that one first?
Yeah, and I think that we were going to go over the expectation slide. Is there a time that's planned? Because that's what I think of when I think it could be helpful to know, like, what are the behavior guidelines? Are we going to see that slide? Because that's what I would reference as part of my response.
Yeah, I believe Tammy was saying that it's going to be at the end. We'll be able to circle back, I think, and go over some of those slides.
Okay, so on that expectation slide that we read at the beginning of every group, especially if there are new people there, it kind of lists what's expected as far as what you share, how you share, confidentiality, respecting each other's airtime, the fact that if you don't want to share, you don't have to. You can come and listen. And so I think that will be beneficial for anybody attending who's wondering, is this for me? Is to get an idea for I mean, and in our group we have a high priority for that level of respect and privacy. I think the other thing is that there is zero long-term commitment. I think sometimes I don't realize when I like describe our group to people and talk about how we go on a 6-week cycle where we go through different topics, starting at preconception and pregnancy, moving into pregnancy with narcolepsy, having a newborn with narcolepsy. I think people get the idea that, oh, if I go, I have to go every week. And it's not like that. Like, you drop in, see what you think, come back the next week, come back in 3 weeks, come back in 3 months. Like, we have all of that in our group. We have members who are there. Actually, I don't know that, I wouldn't say that there's anybody who is always there. We have a core group, and usually there's a handful that are represented at every meeting, but like, we're also busy moms and we understand that of each other. And so it's when you can make it, you don't need to apologize if you can't make it. So zero long-term commitment. And if that's something that is keeping you away. And then, yeah, the other big one is, don't feel like you have to share. We have listeners too. It does help if you communicate that, because we do kind of go around and check in, but like because I form personal relationships with a lot of the women, I know the ones who don't want to check in. But if you don't, like, shoot the facilitator a direct message that says, I'm just here to listen, or to the group, say, I'm here to listen. And everybody's respectful, non-judgmental, we understand.
Those are excellent points, Emily, and I appreciate you kind of bringing up that you just come and listen if that's where you want to be, and you put in what you're comfortable putting in, and that can change and evolve over time. Those are excellent points, Emily. Sheila?
Yeah, I agree. It's the non-judgmental area. People aren't there to put any pressure on you. We've had people that have come and not turned their screen on. They're just not comfortable being live. And to be honest, I'm not really a fan either. But I do like that feeling of being in person. So this is the closest you can get. But, maybe occasionally I might say to somebody who has just to let them know that we recognize they're still with us, just to say, hey, Matt or Monica or whoever, anytime if you feel like you want to, jump in or you have a question, feel free, but we're not going to pressure you. And I think if I was joining a group, that would be important to me. And like Emily said as well, I am busy as well. Even though I'm retired, I'm busy, but I don't want necessarily to have to be somewhere. This is different because I'm facilitating, but if I'm joining a group, I need to know that it's, available when I need it and not something I have to do.
Great point, Sheila. Tara?
I mean, both Sheila and Emily both have really good points. But I would also say, like, if you want to join, and kind of how Matt mentioned earlier, like, a lot of us are shy at first. And then, so like, if you are, that's okay. Like, and if you want to just come and listen, or like say hi and then listen, we are more than okay with that. And like, I know for me, it took me a little while to really put myself out there. And I think this group even helped me do that. And so I think just like, we want anyone who wants to join, even if you don't share. And you're never going to be pressured to share. And it is nice that like you can come and go as you want. So like if you only want to come for part of the meeting and then have to go, then that's okay. You don't have to stay for the whole hour, hour and a half. It's just up like whenever you want to come and whenever you want to go. You're not like held accountable for staying the whole time.
That's a great point. And again, it's what you're willing to put in is what you'll be able to get out of these groups. And if you just want to come and listen, that's fantastic. What I like to do when someone's a newcomer in group is I do like to, after the intros, give them a priority time. So you have 3 minutes if you want to share. But again, that's not something you have to do. That's just if you want to, because if you're taking the effort to come in to this new environment, I want you to feel like you can ask whatever. And that's when you see a lot of people just get choked up because it's you can tell that it's been heavier on their heart. They want to connect, and it's just an opportunity. The other thing that's really important about these groups is it's confidential and anonymous. So you are not allowed to talk about what's said after your group's over. You can continue to have relationships with the people that you get to know in the group setting, but the conversations stop as soon as that screen goes black. And so you can come in and you can share how you're feeling. You don't have to worry about someone saying, "Oh, you won't believe what so-and-so said." Zero tolerance for anything like that. Never even had to address it because it's a sacred place. It's where we're coming and we're sharing our heart. So, if you're concerned about, telling people at work that you have narcolepsy, you get that question a lot. You're not going to have to worry about your information getting out there because, again, this is all people who live with or support other people with narcolepsy. And so just like I would ask them to respect me, we offer the same in return. And Sheila, you have your hand up.
Yeah, the point I was just going to add that sometimes people come because they're in crisis that particular day. They're just having a hard time, and that's what prompts them to come for the first time. And even though we like to go and give people, a couple of minutes because you want everybody to have time if they want to speak, there are weeks that if somebody, whether it's a regular person or somebody who's new, seems to just need a little bit more, I find the group just gives way to that, and that becomes a priority. And I find that very emotional because here's this person that they've never met, but they recognize, they have empathy for where they're at, and many people may have been there. And to see, and I'm getting teary, to see that evolve even over 20 minutes of somebody coming in feeling distraught and then feeling like I have hope, and to me keeps me coming back, right? Those moments. Yeah.
That's a great point, Sheila. And that kind of piggybacks to you talked about how the conversation kind of evolves organically too. The next question is, while advanced participation for support groups isn't usually necessary, are there ways participants can prepare if they would like to do so they feel more comfortable? So Emily, would you like to start that one?
Yes, the first thing I wanted to say, because I did see in the chat, or we were sent a question that said, I have never known how to join one of these. And I assume that we're going to provide that information. And so I think it does help before meeting time to visit the website, which is heypeers.com. Because if you haven't been yet, you will make yourself an account and find the meeting, find the meeting to register for it. So that's something of a logistical nature to do prior to the session. Otherwise, I would say, and I wanted to mention, because Sheila brought up a good point about I think ours may be the only group that kind of does have like regimented topics, but in reality, like it's an open box. Like this is a starting point if nobody has anything to talk about really, but we run the gamut as far as topics, and new people honestly like make it to me, because we all know each other and we know each other's experiences, and sometimes the introductions get a little old. They're like, I know all this about you already. But when we have new people join, and like Sheila described, it's like everybody just gives way to supporting this person, because we're like, we've been there and we know how you feel. We know how you feel to like be empty-handed when all you need is like information and support. And so we love when new people attend, and we love when they stick with us. And I would say other things you could do beforehand is to think about questions. And like Matt, when we do have a new person, I also try to give them every opportunity to ask questions they may have come with. And then and if there's a level of comfort for like jumping in and participating because you're new, we also utilize the chat feature. Sometimes we kind of have like two conversations going on at once. And so if you don't want to unmute and speak up, throw your question in the chat and maybe it will join. Usually it gets incorporated into the live conversation. So just ways you can think ahead.
That's a great point, Emily. The chat in our groups is a very enriching conversation in and of itself, where you have some back and forth about maybe what somebody said. People will offer some solutions, whether it be a book that they read that might be helpful, or some research that they found to be particularly pertinent to that question. So yeah, that's a great approach. Sheila.
Yeah, we tend to recommend books and podcasts. So it's so funny because if somebody new comes in and they have something that is geared towards something we may have discussed, maybe not exactly, but something we'll think, invariably somebody will go and type in, this is a really good reference, or mention it to that person. And then it's not uncommon to see a new person with a paper. Let me write that down, and it just feels really good to pass on that information, because often it's not readily accessible or you don't know where to look if you're new. So it's nice to have somebody to just say, just press this button or look this up.
Yeah, Sheila, that's true. It's like a special narcolepsy Google feature. You ask the group and then all of a sudden you get answers that are just geared towards what we live with. And so it's a great way to kind of streamline and get through some of the multiple web pages that pulls up. You get just the answers that you're looking for shared by your peers. Tara?
I would say like all of these are good ideas. But to add, I would say like if you do want to talk, maybe make a list of things you want to talk about or questions you want to ask. So then because I know for me, I have bad brain fog. So if I don't write things down, then and especially in a new environment and stuff, I would lose what I wanted to say or ask. So I feel like writing them down, even just on a piece of paper, and have that next to me. And then using the chat is, I feel like it's been said, it's a huge thing. I feel like when I've been to Matt's group in the past, there would be two conversations going on, but then also in the chat, so not everybody would talk since we're limited on time. They would just answer in the chat. And so I feel like that way we can get even more helpful things from both people talking and in the chat at the same time.
So for me, for advice I would offer, I would be try to find a time that works best for you. So when you have your most spoons, if you will. So when your brain is ready to go. For the Saturday group, if you're an afternoon person, that's a great time slot for you. The evening group is great. We also have a West Coast group. If you happen to be over on the Pacific Coast, a time slot on Wednesday night that's available for you. Or if you have a specialty connection, so you want to get the pregnancy and parenting aspect, the LGBTQ group. If you're looking for answers about Canada, find the group that fits your particular interest, but also know that you can come to the Wednesday and Saturday groups no matter what. You can also bring a family member. So if there's somebody who loves you and wants to support you, there's a group Tuesday nights that meets that it's just led specific to support people, but there's also the Wednesday group and Saturday group is open to family members as well. And when you're going through your intro, if there's something that you really want to talk about, make sure that you mention that. So, if it's hey, I'm just going to throw this out there, I need to talk about my upcoming doctor's appointment. And that way we know to circle back back to you. The hand raise feature, we love to use that in our group. The Wednesday night group can be from 8 people all the way up to 18 or 19 sometimes. And so to manage that conversation efficiently, it's very helpful to have the hand raise up, and just make sure that if you have something that you need to connect with, just type a message in the chat to the host or the co-host from Hey Peers, and we'll make sure that we get to that issue. So last question here is, what kinds of participation do you find to be most beneficial for this setting and format? So Emily, how would you approach that question?
Yeah, and I didn't know if you were thinking along the lines of kind of what we've discussed as far as live versus the chat. I guess what came to my mind was really, I mean, like if you're sharing from your expert experience, life experience. I mean, that's how we benefit each other, is that each of us are sharing our personal experiences and gaining insights. As a facilitator, I typically come with the questions to help get the conversation going, but I think I'm far happier when I'm not speaking and it's group members who are asking questions of each other. Like, I'll give an example. At our recent meeting, one woman was getting ready to wean from breastfeeding, and she knew another woman had a really, but she was like, you know, the experience of breastfeeding has been so endearing to her that she was nervous to make that transition. And see, like, I mean, it has a little bit to do with narcolepsy, but our group is cool because it's a lot to do with motherhood, you know, which is a big part of what we're going through. And she knew that another woman had a really fantastic experience with breastfeeding, but had to wean eventually. And it often has to do with getting back on medications, et cetera. And so she directed that question to that other group member who was there. And it was just like so beautiful to see woman A so enriched by woman B's experience. And so that's what I see as the type of participation that is beneficial, is just coming and sharing what you've been through. We are like, we try to be careful about not offering, I mean, I think we do offer each other advice in some ways, not like pushing it on each other, but we say, you know, I tried this and this is how it benefited me. And then I would say, those who are looking for like a group where you feel like you have trusting relationships, coming regularly is how that forms. And like I said, there is no need for commitment, but if that's an interest to you, to like feel like you have a friend group with narcolepsy, just come regularly. And it's just really neat to see how that core forms and the trust that we gain as we're learning from each other's experiences.
Emily, that's a great point. You know, that I think the trust is there, but when you come consistently and these are your people, these are the folks that you look forward to seeing, it just comes so much more natural. You know, people can come to group for a week and you know they want to talk about something, and then finally they get a chance to talk about it because they do hit that threshold of trust. They're like, okay, I'm safe. You can see them kind of sink into the moment. That's really a beautiful thing to see. So that's a great point. Sheila?
Yeah, I think I agree with Emily. It's when it's when it's organic and you just see it kind of, you know, take a life of its own, and people just, you know, start helping each other. And I think when we talk about forming relationships and you know, these groups, that it's important, and I think we've made the point, but that as a newcomer, you're not going to feel like you're coming into a clique or something. This is not like a tight, you're going to be, you know, brought in with open arms because you're already one of us, right? This is a specific group that, you know, has your best interest at heart, even if they don't know you yet. So I think just to kind of put that out there.
Yeah, excellent point, Sheila. Tara?
I agree with everyone, but I know, like, for me, like, just as an example, like when I first started going to Matt's group, I would go almost weekly. And then like, because I was really struggling. And then as time went on, and I would go a little less frequently. And I'm busy now. It's like people get busy. And so like, it's okay if you are not there for like a month or two and then you join back. Like, it's okay. But like Emily said, that if you want to feel that connection, especially like at the beginning, going weekly is important, but you're not required to. And I know, like, I feel like for me with my teen group previously and then now young adult group, I feel like from what I've seen is that just having the teens like ask questions and then myself answer them, and I feel like it's been really beneficial because like they've not met another person with narcolepsy, especially because at their young age they don't have like there's not many of them, and so just having that young connection I feel like is really important.
Those are all fantastic answers. I think for me, as a facilitator, I love it when I don't have to answer a question and the collective wisdom pipes in, and then there's three people offering points that were much more profound than what I might have been able to offer. And that's just the case because you have people sharing their own experiences, and no one person has the market cornered on all of the experiences in the group. So if you have somebody come in and they're going to ask about accommodations, this is what worked for this person, this is what worked for that person. If you have a 504 accommodations issues for school, we probably have somebody who has experience with that. If you've got a question about disability, again, these are all just experience-based answers. But if you have questions about what's impacting your life with narcolepsy, or if it's impacting your sleep, I always encourage people to share it. I like to talk about my journey with narcolepsy, having to go through the grief process. And so I will come to group and I'll talk about the denial, the anger, the bargaining, the depression, all working towards acceptance and finding meaning. But that's not necessarily specific just to narcolepsy, but it's my broad experience. It's impacting my sleep, my symptom severity. And so if there's issues in your life that are impacting how you live with narcolepsy, go ahead and bring those to the table, and we'll be happy to share with that. Emily said it great. Something happens, we can rally around and support you. We've had people that came, right after a parent passed away, and they just needed support. And those are some of the most heartfelt moments because of the vulnerability that's there, but it's about support. It's a support group. So we're supporting people with narcolepsy and how it impacts life. So those are kind of the main questions that we wanted to go over. I did want to open it up to questions from the audience. So if there's anything out here that you may want to know, I know that Emily did a great job answering the question about how to join. Go to Haypeers, kind of right off the bat, set up your account, and then you register. The process is you get an email notification the day of for your group. You can click that link and follow it to it, or you can just log on to Haypeers during the group time and come on that way. They're all free. These groups are provided at no cost to the community. We want to make sure that we're being inclusive as possible, and they're free because of the support from the pharmaceutical communities. So that's kind of the basis of how it works. If we don't have any questions, I do just kind of want to go around and get some of your perspectives. If you guys had a particular vignette or story that really kind of encapsulates what group means to you, we can take that approach.
Excuse me, Matt. We do
Yeah.
have one question that just came in, but also do we want to
Yeah.
just pop up the slides to show, just to go through kind of the disclaimer expectation?
Yeah,
A
yes,
list of
please.
the, do you want me to pop that up? You guys?
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Okay.
I'll let Emily take that slide.
Okay. Let's do a.
Emily, I can go ahead and read this one, and then we'll go to the expectation slides. So Wake Up Narcolepsy uses support groups to provide emotional support and education for those impacted by narcolepsy. As stated in the release agreement at registration, the information and support provided in this session does not represent therapeutic recommendation or prescription. It is not meant to be a substitute for advice provided by a doctor or other qualified healthcare professional. You should always consult with a doctor or other healthcare professional for medical advice or information about diagnosis and treatment. And yes, I have practiced that multiple times. Emily, you want to take the next slide here?
Yeah, for sure. These are important to me. So meeting guidelines. What is said here stays here. This is the essential principle of confidentiality and must be respected by all. Differences of opinion are okay. We are all entitled to our own point of view. Use I language. Share from your personal experience. Say, this is what helped me, or when I was faced with that problem, don't give advice unless asked for. It's okay not to share. People don't need to actively participate. Much can be gained by just listening. It's everyone's responsibility to make the group a safe place to share. Respect confidentiality, treat each other with respect and kindness, and show compassion. One person speaks at a time. Each person should be allowed to speak free from interruptions and side conversations. Share the airtime. Everyone who wishes to share has an opportunity to do so. No one person should monopolize the group time. Headline your comments. Say the most important part of your comment first. Try to keep your communication brief and to the point. This is the only one that I maybe struggle with, because you don't have to feel like you can't speak up if you don't headline your comments. Like, we're all kind of fumbling around trying to articulate how we feel. The facilitator may interrupt you to keep the meeting on track.
Sheila, do you want to
Alright.
take this one? Or?
Oh, yes,
And
sorry,
then
yes.
The last one is just a list of the groups. Thank you.
Yes. So feel free to leave the meeting if you have other obligations. Use the chat to contribute thoughts if someone else is talking. And sometimes you might have to point that out to somebody if they're new to the format. The times are a hard stop, although I have to say our group has gone over. We do about 2 to 3 minutes of introductions, which could include your name, where you live, and your connection to narcolepsy. Some life updates where your loved one is on his or her journey, if you're a family member or a support person. A fun thing to do is something that has happened to me, whether it's this week, and something that might not be so good. We don't like to have it all be negative. It's nice to share our, our triumphs as well. And something snappy, which means something that you're looking forward to.
Just for everybody's preview, these are the lists of the support groups and how to register, going to heypeers.com, as was already mentioned and put through the chat. And Matt, I think there are a couple of questions.
Yeah, certainly. Okay. Are there any in-person support groups? We don't host any in-person support groups. We do just have the live versions. There are webinars. There's going to be an in-person event. There's one coming up in Boston, and I know that Monica will be happy to share those details with you, and that will be in September. The groups that we offer are all virtual. And let's see. And then again, we've got the ones about the groups there. We don't have any Instagram or WhatsApp groups that exist. We are welcome. We have people that come from all over the globe. So I've had somebody come in from Africa on multiple occasions. I've had somebody come in from Myanmar. We've had people that come in from Europe constantly. So you're welcome wherever you are. Sometimes that's one of the advantages of having groups throughout the day too. Finding a global time slot is not particularly easy, but if you can stay up late or wake up a little bit early, we're happy to help you. Typically, all of the groups are done in English. I know that the Canadian groups, there's a lot of French Canadians in there as well that might be able to help if you have more needs for a specific language that you might be speaking. So those are kind of the answers. And so is there any, yeah, the groups are available in Zoom, and then also on Hey Peers platform. They have their own peer-to-peer software as well. I'll have to ask the other facilitators here about their particular groups, but I know the Wednesday night 7 p.m. Eastern group and the Saturday afternoon 1:30 Eastern group are on Zoom. So Emily, is yours on the Hey Peer platform or Zoom?
We are using the Hey Peers platform right now.
Sheila?
I just had mine on the Hey Peers for the first time last week, which was strange, but we're usually Zoom.
And Tara?
We've always been on Zoom. I don't know if it'll change with the change in group, but I'm always, like, we've never been on Hey Peers, so.
And just to clarify, the Hey Peers platform is a peer-to-peer platform that's just their proprietary software. So it has similar usability features in terms of a chat. It has the same sort of face-to-face interaction, the ability to mute yourself, the ability to hide your image if that's what you so choose. So it's very similar usability. Let's see. Have any more questions? Yeah, and even though the groups are on Zoom, you do have to go through Hey Peers for the registration process. That's the essential step that needs to be taken. So again, did you guys want to share? I'm happy to, if anybody else in the audience has a question that they may need answered, or is there anything that some of the facilitators want to share, just like a final takeaway? What do groups mean to you? And Emily, would you like to start that?
Yeah, I thought I would just also share for any who might be interested in the pregnancy and parenting group. We just started a new 6-week stint. So we did on Tuesday, we had our week 1. This coming Tuesday will be our week 2. And then in between those, we take a 3-week break. I'm one of the co-facilitators. I work with 2 other women, Sara and Michelle, who you may see as facilitators. And I would just say, if you haven't taken an opportunity to connect with other individuals with narcolepsy, I think this is a great low risk opportunity. You can do it from your own home. And like I said, I think that's one of my favorite things to observe is participants who are coming for the first time and feeling that connection that they've never felt. And I know exactly how that was. And like I said, it was years after I was diagnosed and I felt like I had support, but it's just different. It's real live empathy. And I'm just grateful for friends that I've made that I think are going to be lifelong friends because we share this unique journey. And then the other thing I would say, if you do start participating and benefit from peer support, like mention it to your doctor. I think a lot of clinicians aren't aware of this as an opportunity. And I think that's something that a way that you might be able to help other patients is to make your doctor aware of this opportunity so that they can suggest it to other patients. And we would love to have you join our group.
Emily, I'm going to take a second to amplify that message a little bit more because I think it's so essential. And that is, if there are any medical professionals listening, peer support and support in general for people with narcolepsy is without a doubt one of the most important ways you can help someone who's diagnosed. There's plenty of answers out there on the internet, but you will not find any answers that come with empathy and compassion like you'll find in a support group. And just knowing that you're not alone is second to none. And there's a few really influential people in the community who have been pushing this message forward. And Emily, thank you so much for mentioning that. your group is filled with experts. Your facilitators are top notch, and yeah. So if you are pregnant, or looking to become pregnant, you know, these groups are an essential place to come and get some of those questions answered. Sheila.
Yeah, great points, Emily and Matt. I have referred a few people to you, Emily, because I've had people send me message or, you know, questions about pregnancy, and, you know, my kids are in their 30s, right? Or late 20s and 30s. So I'm not current anymore. And my experience was very different than it might be now. So and the same with teens or young adults. I've spoken to many parents that have called me who've been referred through, you know, local people and physicians. And when I speak to them, you know, I let them know about the different types of groups. And, you know, an all-inclusive group or generic group is fine, but often people who are in specific points in their life, like teens or young adults, have really different needs than we may, you know, not that we can't help, but that we're just not going to address in the same way as a peer or somebody going through that. So I think it's really important for people to know that there are different types of groups out there.
Thank you, Sheila. Tara.
All great points. I would say that, like, for me, support groups are like the biggest, like, part of my management of narcolepsy, because I went, like, going to them, I found out like how similar I am to all these people, and I spent 20 years being misdiagnosed with things and feeling like something's off, and it's like I found out so many other people got misdiagnosed with those same things, and it's like just knowing that you're not alone is huge, and it's definitely helped me a lot, because I know for me, before my diagnosis, I barely could go to school and get good grades, and now with this group and other things, like, I'm going to school full time and getting A's and B's, and I'm halfway through my program, so it's like I would have never been able to do this without this group, and like they've helped me with accommodations and all that stuff. I feel like I have a whole nother family, and it's like I said, and they're like my best friends, and I've gotten to travel and meet some of them, and it's became a huge thing, and I'm just really thankful for it, because I feel like without it, I would still feel alone. And it's a great feeling. Like, I remember my first meeting, I just felt like I belonged. And with the teens and the young adults, I feel like they're at the age of where they're growing, and like there's a lot of different changes in their life, and so I feel like having that age group just in one group, even though they're welcome to go to like other groups, but just having a space for them to talk about things that are happening in their life, like college and like graduating high school and so many changes. And I just feel like these groups are really essential to our management of narcolepsy.
I wanted to answer one quick question that was just popped up. So Tara's group's at 7 on Tuesdays. Is that correct, Tara? Just want to make sure I get that right.
Yeah, and we meet at 7 p.m. Eastern time on Tuesdays.
Yeah. And just the kind of final thoughts for me on that question. You know, these groups have helped me find some balance in life. Something I've constantly struggled with and will continue to struggle with, but it helps me prioritize, set expectations that are realistic. It allows me to get out of my head. So, you know, I get stuck in this thinking process and trying to fit myself into a world of people without narcolepsy, and I get to be grounded. and knowing that, you know, I'm around people who understand what it's like, and also grace. You know, I come to group, and when I start offering other people grace, I realize that I need to start doing that to myself. I have to give myself grace for mistakes I made, for things that I said, things that I didn't say. And so those are really kind of what the groups mean to me, and then just that family of choice. So, you know, you guys are my family of choice in that regard. And then one last thing, just thank you to Wake Up Narcolepsy, to everybody within the organizations who put in the time and effort to make these groups happen. And thank you to all the pharmaceutical companies that are investing in this essential program. So, Monica?
Thank you very much. A lot of this was heartwarming and so educational and informative. And I don't know why people wouldn't be joining these groups, especially based on what you've all said today. So thank you very much. And thank you. These 4 leaders and the other ones are volunteers. So they're doing this out of passion and the goodness of their heart because they believe in this program. So thank you very much again to Matt, Emily, Tara, and Sheila today for being here and sharing the importance of online support groups. I just want to be sure that people can tune in to our next Brown Bag webinar, which is scheduled for August 11th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We will hear from Amy Dudry. She is a parent and family educator in the neurology department at Boston Children's Hospital, and she'll be talking about school and work accommodations for people with narcolepsy. Registration is required on the Wake Up Narcolepsy website. Again, thank you to our sponsors for the Brown Bag webinar series. Thank you to Avadel Pharmaceuticals, Harmony Biosciences, Orexia Therapeutics, and Takeda Pharmaceuticals. So thank you very much, everyone. And thank you. Somebody's saying they still can't find the group. Is that what I'm seeing here? No. Okay, we're all good. That was Tara's response. So,
All right.
Yeah, I was just making sure like that she was wanting to know how she could find Hey Peers, or like, since I'm not on Hey Peers, but I technically am, like, you just go to the group and find the group on Hey Peers and register. And then when you click to register, or like to join the meeting on the day, it'll say like register on Zoom, and then you'll click that and it'll take you to the meeting.
yep. And if anybody gets stuck, they can email info@wakeupnarcolepsy.org and we can walk them through it. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great afternoon. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.